It just ended here. Oh my God. Augmented reality. But there are secondary signals. The most important part. This is not information architecture. You will get penalized, my friend. It's not wrong. It's just redundant. This will not work on your favor. Hey, you awesome people. Welcome to my channel. And today I'm going to review a case study, which is a real project. Yes, a real project which is worked on by a real designer for a real client. I'm assuming this is a freelance project. And the best part is, this is a project which involves AR or augmented reality. So this is going to be exciting. Before we proceed, I would like to call out that I am here to judge only the work or the case study that is in front of me and not the person. So I'm judging the work and not the person. And whatever I say, my thoughts and my review today, it is my personal and doesn't reflect the opinion of my present employer, Swiggy, or any other company that I might work for in the future. If you want to get your portfolios reviewed, then join my community at nas.io/sapta. I will leave the link in the description, and share the link of your portfolio in this thread out there, which is showcasing design portfolio and sharing feedback. A lot of you have shared that already, and every week I select one case study which I review on a video like this. And regarding portfolios, I would also like to call out that a portfolio alone cannot get you a job. There are many other steps after it. What a portfolio can do is to get you an interview. And that's exactly what I'm going to do today. I'm going to review the case study as if it was a real one which had come to me. And at the end, I will also share my verdict if I would call this person for an interview or not. So let's get right to business. So here we are. This one is a case study written by Saurav Dubey, and I have his consent to review it in this channel out here. The title says UI UX case study, an application to read books using augmented reality for children. Now, in this regard, I would like to call out that, you don't really have to use the phrase UI UX. I know it's widely used in many places in the industry. It's not wrong. It's just redundant. You see, UI or user interface is a subset of UX or user experience. When you say UX case study, that itself means that it'll have UI in it because, it's an important part of any user experience. Again, it's not wrong. It's just redundant. Calling UI UX is equivalent to saying burger patty. Imagine you going to McDonald's and saying that, hey, I want a patty and a burger. Of course, your burger will have a patty inside, right? So it's kind of in that territory. Anyways, let's go ahead. UI UX case study, an application to read books using augmented reality. I think that's the exciting part out here. Let's see what we have in store. In this case study, I'm going to talk about how this app will help users enhance their reading experience. All right, so this is still about reading, right? It's still about reading, but then AR is going to make it maybe exciting, better. And I also see that there are a snapshot of the entire app, all the screens. I think this is a nice touch because towards the beginning itself, it sets an expectation that this is what you're going to see later. It's kind of like that teaser. So I like this part that, you're giving a hint of what is going to come. So this is good. What is this? Emal Kinged Ace Advent. All right, we'll get there. What's happening out there later. Project overview. Augmentals aims to create a highly engaging platform for children, making reading enjoyable, easy to use, and intuitive for users. He's starting the case study with the word augmentals. Now, the context hasn't been set yet, right? Since I've scanned through it already, I know that augmentals is nothing but the client. Okay, hold on. Is it augmentales or augmentals? I don't know. Looks like this is a typo. And folks watching this, please make sure that you do not make typos in your case study. Now, I know that the typo is not related to how good or bad a design work that you have done, but there are secondary signals that an interviewer or a reader would actually judge you based on. You see, design is all about details. We need to look at each and everything and see that if this is working right, if that is working right. Even the details which are missed by other people are caught by designers. So attention to details is an important skill for any designer. And that's exactly why you shouldn't make typos or spelling mistakes in your case study, because it shows that you haven't paid attention to the details, right? And also it can project you as a person who wasn't very serious about it. Otherwise, you would have definitely spell checked it or, reviewed it or corrected it and all. So just make a note of that. All right. So Augmentales, I'm assuming Augmentales is the company, aims to create highly engaging platform for children. Okay. As children are moving away from the traditional approach of reading books, this app helps them to adopt new ways of reading books. So it is still reading books, but it's a newer way of reading books that attracts children to explore the era of augmented reality. Timeline was 2 weeks, client, Augmentales, project types, freelance, role UX and UI designer. Okay, team individual. So everything that you see out here was done by Saurav himself. So that's great. One-man army. Okay, the new generation kids have really adopted technology with open arms and are moving quite fast along with evolving technology. Exactly, of course. All right, problem statement. Children find it challenging to develop a habit of reading books and learning new vocabulary through traditional methods of reading. Okay, all right. Well, it does sum up. Maybe, you could expand a bit more on that. But okay, functionally, I think it just tells that, this is the problem statement. So you want to create a habit of reading using augmented reality in the app that you're designing. Okay, goal. So goal section is also mentioned. It's nice. The goal of this app is to create an interactive book reading platform for children and help them build a habit of reading books using augmented reality. Essentially the same thing. Okay. Well, in this regard, you could have also put a section for target users since you're calling out all the important aspects of the case study. Maybe you could have a small section. I know that it's children, but if there are any more categories of children and stuff, you could have mentioned out there. Or maybe you mentioned later. We'll see that later. Secondary research. Well, secondary research is the research where you go and read the research findings of somebody else, something that was done in the past, right? For example, some company or somebody would have done some research along the same, reading habit for children, augmented reality and all. When you go read their reports online or any other place, it's considered as secondary research because you haven't directly done it. When you do it directly, it's called primary research. So that's what secondary research is. I started my research by understanding the market and how augmented reality has become the future of digital experiences. Okay. As I went through some articles and blogs, most companies focus on transforming the two-dimensional experience to the immersive experience using augmented reality, virtual reality, and mixed reality. So here there are three phrases that are used: augmented reality or AR, virtual reality or VR, and mixed reality or MR. Now, what are these and how are they different? So if I were to tell you in simple words, VR or virtual reality is when you are transformed into a completely different digitally created reality. Imagine when you wear the VR headset and then you're transformed to a garden where, there's a little dog in front of you, there are other people moving around, and then you can just walk around and then see. It feels like you are in that field itself, but everything is virtual, right? Augmented reality is where you have your real stuff, the physical stuff present. For example, I'm sitting here, I'm at my desk, I have my laptop, I have my mic, I have my camera, and imagine we put a digitally rendered dog on my table out here, right? It'll feel like the dog is sitting exactly on the table. So that is augmented reality, where you're augmenting or adding on top of reality. It is often seen through, a mobile device or something where you hold it, you see through the camera and stuff like that. Mixed reality is just like augmented reality, but the digital and the physical elements can interact with each other. So the example that I had given before, imagine a dog sitting out here. In mixed reality, I can maybe, interact with my hand with the dog. I can pat on it and the dog will react to my patting. So that's what is mixed reality. And all the, cool stuff that you see, big interfaces in front of you and you're using a finger and interacting or doing whatever, those are all mixed reality in a way, right? So let's get back. Some of the reasons of AR integration in the app are limited engagement, losing interest in continuing the tradition of reading method, losing interest in continuing the traditional reading method. Okay, creating an interactive environment for children to learn quickly. Okay, as I was exploring a few of the players which are there in the market, okay, competitive, he has at least figured out who the competition is. Epic, a digital library for children consisting of audiobooks, learning videos. Okay, Reading Eggs, it helps kids learn through interactive reading games, guided reading lessons, and fun activities. Okay, Bookful, it's an AR-based book reading app for kids with a variety of interactive characters. Okay, so looks like Bookful is the one which is closest to what Saurav is attempting to make out here. Okay, there were other competitors as well, but I consider three as the most close competitors with Augmentales. Yes, it's Augmentales, not Tals. Okay, has planned to build for users. Okay, perfect. As of now, Augmentales has planned to launch 2 books for their users and later on to include a vast library of books from different categories. Okay, starting with 2, I'm assuming it also needs a lot of effort to convert a book into the AR form. primary users. So the primary users are children aged 4 to 10 years old. Okay. The primary target audience for app is children between 4 and 10. That is kids who can read. They know how to read, and the age group is an early stage of reading development, and they'll benefit from the interactive and engaging reading experience. Secondary users are the parents and guardians, because of course those kids wouldn't be independently doing some of these things. So the secondary users are parents and guardians who want their children to develop reading habits without losing interest, and help them to set their kids' profile, get customized experience. Okay. User persona. Emma is a curious and imaginative 7-year-old girl who loves exploring. Okay. Goals: want to read books without getting bored. She's keen to learn vocabulary and explore new books. Looking to experience a new way to reading books apart from traditional methods of reading books. Pain points: unable to focus on text-heavy books, unable to find interesting categories in the book. Sometimes hears or encounters unfamiliar words, phrases often, and finds it difficult to pronounce it. Okay. So these are the pain points. Okay, that's just one persona. You have clearly called out 2 categories of users. So there should have been at least 2 personas, right? One from a secondary user group, one from a primary user group. And for each of these user groups, there could have been multiple personas, right? Or you could even say that, it is just generic thing for any kind of children I'm going to do, which is also fine, by the way. In which case, you wouldn't need this section at all for user personas. Okay? All right, fine. I'm assuming that, it's a 4 to 8. Essentially, this is your primary persona, which is only one kind of people that you're catering to, but secondary ones as well. All right. After all the research, I started with ideating flows, app features, and creating information architecture to shape the experience for kids. User flow for primary users. So primary users are nothing but the children aged 4 to 10 years old. So let's see what the user flow is. Opens app, splash screen, walk through, sign up with number or social ID. The kids, will they have number, social ID? Okay. OTP verification. Set up profile for your kid. Okay. So it looks like this is not the flow for primary users. It looks like it's the flow for secondary users. Is it? Okay. I'll just go and have a look. What is it? Set up the profile for your kid. Yeah, your kid. Enter kid's name and age or skip to home. Okay. There's an option to skip. Select interest of your kids, category of books. Okay. Explore home, select from popular, book reading screen, view in augmented. Well, this feels like this is a mix of both primary and secondary users, and definitely not primary users, because it looked like setting up a profile for your kids and all. And then, maybe your secondary users, that is the parents, wouldn't really go and read the books. Well, they might, but then it's not the primary thing or the main thing that you want to do out here. So this looks like a flow which is started by the secondary users, which are the parents and guardians, but then later it is used by the primary audience, which are the kids. So this section is not right. This is not a flow for primary users. So, maybe this flow was not even needed, but since you put it, you can't make mistake. If you had not put it, no one would penalize. But if you put it and make a mistake, you will get penalized, my friend. So be careful what you put and what you not put. Okay. Key features of the app: read and view books and augmented reality, of course. Search specific books with voice commands and manual search. Okay. Play side games to engage more with the app. What kind of games are these? Like side games to engage more with the app. Is it even aligned with the goal that you mentioned at the top? Because if I remember right, your goal was to create an interactive book reading platform and help them build a habit of reading books using augmented reality. So it's an interactive book reading platform, and your main goal is to build a habit of reading books. So where does these games come into the picture? Because here it doesn't talk about that these games are going to make my reading better or anything. So what kind of games these are, it's not clear. So if it is not aligned with developing reading habit, maybe it's not even needed out here, right? So you need a little more detail around what kind of games these are and why you need them in the app. Add books to favorite. Okay. Information architecture, splash screen walkthrough. Okay, first of all, folks, this is not information architecture. This can at best be called a sitemap, because you're just showing what are the different places or sections of the app. That Okay, it's technically not information architecture. So okay, let's go and see. But I understand your intent, what you're trying to do out here. Entire is more like a sitemap. Okay, we'll go and see. Splash screen, walk through an onboarding, set a profile, select category. Okay, home has got search and popular books. Okay, so home has popular books, I understand. So what if I want to read a book which is not popular? So is search the only way? From this sitemap or information architecture, as we have called it, it feels like the only way for me to discover a book which is not popular is to search. It means I'll have to know the name of the book, right? I'm pretty sure you could do better than this, because search alone, search of course is an important thing, but that cannot be the only way, because it's not discovery. You need to know the name of a book for you to search. Okay. All right. Bookshelf, I believe, is the next tab where you can save your books. All your saved books will be there. Games, play games. Yeah, the part which is not very clear. All right. Profile, you can upload profile photo. Rate, feedback. Rate and feedback aren't the same. Okay, I assume rate is probably going to go to maybe rating on Play Store or App Store, and feedback is something that you write to the company in case you want to make something better. I guess so. It's that. Help and support and log out. Okay. After gathering and ideating, I moved to the visual design phase. I started finding an inspiration. That's it. You directly went to the visual design phase. I think each of this page has a lot of UX considerations to look at and understand. But okay, let's go and see how your end result is. I moved to the visual design phase. I started finding inspiration, which helped me create high fidelity screens. Okay, you looked at some inspiration. Visual design after creating low fidelity wireframes. Okay, it's the point is not about wireframes. The point is about, some of the ideations and the discussions which you must have had in your mind. Ideally, you should have put those things out there. It could be simple as what makes you feel that you should start with a salutation and a start and a list of popular books, right? How did you arrive at those decisions? Those things are missing in this case study, which are very important for the UX of the entire app, right? So you should put it, which is missing right now. Okay, let's see if the visual design part itself covers it, then it's okay perhaps. I started working visual design for the app home screen. So this is a home screen. It's a small GIF which is playing, and let's see what's written out here. While generating ideas for visual design, I came across a dynamic feature which makes the app experience more playful. Okay. On the home screen, when the user scrolls through the books, the theme changes according to the book's cover page, which creates more engaging experience for the user. Let me just look at this video and understand what is happening. Okay. All right. I think I got what is happening out there. So in the popular book section, there are 2 books right now. Okay. First of all, okay, let me ask one important question. Let's see if there's, okay, this screen, for instance, there are 2 cards out here. Why are the names chopping? I understand this is Animal Kingdom and this is maybe Space Adventure, because I also see it here beside. But if this is the card, why would you put it this way? Because it's a very bad idea to chop off text, when you're designing it. You could have simply not had this big text out here because you already have Animal Kingdom and the 14-minute read thing written out here. You could have simply skipped this, but why have it? You shouldn't have some text out there and then make it not readable. This gives a feeling that maybe this was an image that you found on the internet, or maybe your client had given and you didn't really have control over it, right? This is not the right thing to do. Even if it was an image, you could have figured out a way to remove this text, because this text is not helping. Or if you indeed want to have this text as big, then maybe, you scale it down or make it 2 lines and make it fit within the window that you have built, right? So that's the first thing which you should have done better, in my opinion, right? But let's also go and talk about this playful thing which he has spoken about. So what I believe is, when the user scrolls through it, so Animal Kingdom has a green themed card and Space Adventure has a purple themed card. So when someone scrolls, that is when the Space Adventure comes into the view, the entire theme of the app will change, including the header, which is, if I see it here, yes, when you scroll, the header changes and so does the color. Now understand that you're trying to bring playfulness into it, but if you look at it, this is just one small widget. Should a scroll in that widget change the entire app, right? The scroll in the widget, changing something within the widget is fine, but that changing things at the top of the widget, at the bottom of the widget, and the entire app I'm not sure how good an idea that is, because it might actually create anxiety. I just flicked. Why did everything else change? Right? You could see Netflix does something very similar. So right now, I have a card in front of me, which is a blue card, blue themed card, and the background of it, that is the place which says for Saptarshi TV shows and all, is also inheriting a bluish tinge because the card on top of it is blue, right? And of course, this is a single card. I also assume that had there been multiple cards, of course, Netflix doesn't have multiple cards, but in case they did, and if I had scrolled through them, maybe the background, the blue tinge that you see would change with the theme of the card, green, red, or whatever it is, right? But it is all together in one single widget. But in this case, it's definitely not, because popular is one widget, and one flip in this is changing things at the top, which is the header, which is not visually connected with this widget, by the way, and also the things below it. If you see, even in Netflix, it just becomes black because, me changing this card or this card being in the first fold, it doesn't really change the rest of the page. So why theme the rest of the page based on one card which is selected, right? So that is probably not the best thing to do out there, right? If you really want to do, maybe take the Netflix approach. Hey, Gia, here are some popular books for you. Just put everything together and create an enclosure. And then, once people scroll, go ahead and do it, right? Another way to look at it would be, look at this. These cards are pretty thin. So maybe, around 60% of it is occupied by this green card. And just for 60% occupancy, do you really need to change everything? If you want to do it, then maybe make this card slightly wider so that it's covering maybe 70 to 80% at least, right? If not more, so that this space adventure is just you're seeing one edge of it, and then you will be better suited if you really want this effect where kind of the theming changes, right? So you see, this might feel like a very harmless UI choice, but it affects the experience of the users because it introduces uncertainties. Why did suddenly things change? It just flipped. And secondly, you're not even selecting this card. The card is just in the first fold. That itself is changing all of these. So be careful when you try to introduce some of these cute things. They may look good in a concept, but in real life, they can actually have adverse effects as well. So be careful. Before we proceed, I would like to take a moment to speak about the sponsors of this video, WhatsApp. I have a very important message for fellow business owners and entrepreneurs. If you're on the hunt for a game-changing strategy to boost your sales and connect with your audience like never before, then listen up. Picture this, a country where business thrives on the power of WhatsApp. And now it's a time for you to tap into that power too. Step 1, establish your online presence. You know the drill. Create a Facebook page, an Instagram profile, and a WhatsApp business account. And the magic happens when you link all of them together on Facebook. Step 2, craft a welcoming message that packs a punch. Keep it short, sweet, and irresistible. Let your potential customer know what you are and inspire them to take the next step. This is where the real magic comes in. Run Facebook and Instagram ads that lead directly to WhatsApp messages. Yep, you heard that right. Your potential customers will be connecting with you on WhatsApp, but here's the kicker. Your call to action needs to be crystal clear. They should know they are diving into a conversation with you. Start small and watch your ads evolve with data that Facebook provides. Experiment, tweak, and fine-tune. Test out various placements, wordings, and visuals. Discover what resonates with your audience and make those ads pop. Ready to take your business to the new heights? With WhatsApp ads, you're not just selling, you're building connections, sparking engagements, and turning potential customers into loyal fans. And now we are back to the topic of the video. Onboarding experience. Okay, well, did I miss anything? Okay, yeah, that's part is on. Onboarding experience. While creating the onboarding experience for users, I try to keep the onboarding flow seamless and try to minimize the friction. Also collect primary data. Okay. So onboarding, these are the screens. So these are too small for me to have a look actually. Get started, and it says already have an account, sign in. Okay, so get started is more for signing up, and sign in if I already have an account. Now in this regard, I've seen that your primary button is green in color, which is the app's color, I believe, which is good, which is okay. But you also already have an account and sign in. Now these both have the same color. So generally, in a UI pattern, what happens is if you identify one color which you are going to use for your text buttons as well, you just stick to it and you don't maybe use this color for a text which is not a button. So if you see in this case, already have an account is not a button. It's just an affirm or an interrogative statement out here. Sign in is a button. So what you could have done is maybe already have an account could be in gray, and sign in could be in whatever color you choose for your hyperlinks or text buttons, which is purple maybe in this regard, right? So that's one feedback that I have out here. Same thing out here. No, we will send you an OTP on your number. This is just an affirmative message. It's not tappable, right? So maybe this can still be in gray. And maybe after 30 seconds or so, when the retry or resend OTP comes, that resend part alone can be purple because that's the button, not the entire thing, if you know what I'm saying, right? All right, so this is anyways get started. So I believe get started is clicked when in the phone number flow, you enter your phone number, you give permission for your message, you receive your OTP and you verify. Okay, things are done. Next is profile creation. Parents will be able to create a profile for their children and select category of books which their children may find interesting. Thus, app will suggest books based on their interest. Okay, what's your kid's name and age that you enter, and then you pick interest of your kids. Where will this reflect? Because I had seen the design before. There wasn't any place which suggested that you have honored some of the interests that I have picked for my kid. It just said popular. Popular means that what everyone else is reading. It has got nothing to do with whether my kid likes it or not. So if you've taken some of these preferences, how are you using it? I think that part isn't clear, right? So I could have picked sports, animal stories or something. How are you changing my app to cater to some of the options that you've taken, right? That part isn't clear yet. I hope it gets answered. It says other screens of the app, I guess. Okay, these are the different tabs. This is bookshelf. So inside the bookshelf, I see there are the popular books are again inside this, and then there's a message. You can save your favorite books here. Okay. So the popular books are also, and is this how all books will look like? The covers will come. Okay. And then if there are two books which are already saved, would you again need an empty state message which says that this is where your favorite books will come? Because, if it is empty, then you say that, okay, this space is an empty state. So this is where all your favorite books will come. But if you already have two books which are saved, do you still need this message? I will think about that, right? All right, so games. Okay, it says games, space, adventure, lost in space. Now, again, these games feel like regular games. Maybe, you're fighting in the galaxy or doing something, right? How is this aiding to reading habit of your kids, which is the primary goal of your app? That part isn't clear. Of course, I'm judging, or I'm assuming by looking at the cover of these games might actually have something which helps the kids into reading books. But that part isn't very clear out here, because the games part, it just says that, okay, some games are there. So, whatever it is, we don't really have to look into it. But when you put these things in your case study, you'll have to have a reason how this is helping the goal. How this is helping the goal that you have picked. Now, I understand this is a client project. So if it's a client project and the client has some business reasons why the game should have been here, then just mention it. Just mention it, because it's a client project. I understand, right? Because otherwise what could happen is you making this app, assuming that the kids will develop the habit of reading books, but the kids come here and only play the games and then go back. So you have an app, but it's not really solving your goal, if you know what I'm saying, right? So your idea should be to make the book reading experience as interesting as possible so that the kids come here to experience that, which, by the way, I'm waiting for what you've done. I'm curious to see. The next one is, of course, the profile, which has the rate and all those stuff. This is the search. Okay. Pretty basic search. Okay. Pretty basic search. All right. Then there's a prototype. Okay. Let's see what is happening with the prototype. Okay. I can scroll, or I cannot scroll. Okay. Okay. This is that color changing thing that was mentioned before. And I have shared my reason and thoughts around this theme changing, right? So see, you cannot theme the entire app based on one thing which is just present. You haven't even selected, right? So yeah, it just feels like I'm in a space adventure mode right now, and everything, all these animal stories will also be related to space adventure, right? Which is not the case. So anyways, so there are some categories. Okay, again, here I'm not sure all the options that you had taken. If my kids like animal stories, if my kids like, say, some ABC, you've taken all those input from me. How are you using those inputs out here? I don't see it here because the categories feel like all the categories that are present in the app, and popular feels like things which are popular. That's about it, because this is where the home screen ends. And okay, this thing is clickable. It's just the color switcher. Okay, let's come to bookshelf. Okay, nothing is happening in the bookshelf. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. I think the prototype is malfunctioning. Sort of, if you're watching, you need to look into the prototype because the prototype is breaking. So, see, it's not important to attach a prototype, but if you have one, make sure it's working. If you've written your story in the right way, you don't really need to share a prototype. But if you're doing, make sure it works. Right now, it's not working, which is not right. Okay, conclusion. Where is the AR part? Wasn't this supposed to be an AR? Oh, am I missing something? I'll refresh the page once. I don't know if I'm missing something. Okay, the page is refreshed. I've read through all of them, prototype. Oh, that's it. That's it. It just ended here. Oh my God. Where is the augmented reality part, which I was most curious about? Okay, let's read through the conclusion. From the above research and the product came out, we can conclude that the app can develop a habit of reading books among children with interactive characters of each book with the help of latest technology of augmented reality. How? Right? See, augmented reality is a technology. I explained you in like the dog and the table example, right? What AR is. But what you haven't told us is, how is the book reading experience going to get better with you introducing the AR technology here? The most important part is missing in the case study, right? Oh my God. Okay, so if I look at it, first of all, this feels incomplete, sort of. So what you could do is just go and revisit it and see how can you make it what you've written out there, an application to read books using augmented reality. All the goals that you've spoken about to make, book reading a habit, right? And again, there were other sections. The key features of the app. Yeah, the key features of the app. The first one itself was read and view books in augmented reality. Where is that? I don't see it. Yes, you have done search specific books. Voice command, I just leave voice command aside. Manual search, okay, I've seen, one screen that you put. Play side games, okay. You've done side games and stuff. Add books to favorite, which feels all secondary, tertiary, or even less than that. But the main thing, read and view books in augmented reality, is missing, my friend. This will not work on your favor. Right? But never mind, we will just have a look at it and see what sort of what could he add or subtract in this case study to make it work, right? So before we proceed, I would like to call out my verdict in this one. So will I call sort of for an interview for the role of a product designer 1? The answer is, I think you would have guessed by now, no, because this case study feels incomplete. Now, will I call him for the role of a design intern? For that also no, for the same reason, because it feels incomplete, right? Now, let's get into the details of it, what sort of could do. First of all, if you're calling out that as an application to read books is an augmented reality for children, that should be the part. You should talk about how did you design that experience where the kid is actually experiencing. How did you design the experience which is making the process of reading books easy or delightful for the kid, the children in this case, right? What is the kid seeing? What is the kid listening? What is the kid interacting? I don't know, maybe he's holding the phone or wearing something. All those parts are totally missing. And that's the only thing which makes it an AR project. And that's the meat of the project, right? If you just remove that part, where the book reading part itself is not there, then it's like any other app. And if that is the case, even then, there are problems here. Right? You haven't spoken about the process, right? How did you arrive at this layout? What makes you feel that, okay, there was a place where the screen was present. Let me open that for better. Yeah. What made you feel that this is the right layout? You've said that your primary users are kids who are 4 to 10 years old and their secondary users are adults or the parents and the guardians. What made you feel that this is the right way of doing it? You've collected some information at the beginning asking for interest. How are you reflecting them here? how are you making a kid match with their interests? Right? Some of the very, very important parts of general book reading. Forget about AR. Had this not been an AR, had this simply been an ebook app, still there are lots of UX gaps in it, right? So, and I was not like drilling right from the beginning, hoping that, you are probably concentrating on the AR part, which is probably the meat of the project. But since you haven't done it, all these things becomes even more essential right now. So here is what you could do, Saurabh. There are two angles that you could do. First, make it an AR project, right? Talk about how did you design the book reading or the book experience feature for the kids out here, which is totally missing. Include that. That will add a lot of value to your case study. Second thing is, just get away with the AR part. Since this was a client project, it could also be a possibility that maybe you didn't get a chance to design that AR part. If that's the case, focus on the rest of the app UX. How does one discover the right books? How does one interact with the right books? How does one decide whether I want to read this book or that? Concentrate on those parts. Otherwise, it is just a piece of artwork, my friend. So be careful with that. And if I also were to look at the things which are probably nice, which I like in these illustrations are good, right? If you have indeed made them, it's good. Maybe, you can have a different project where you're talking about your process of how you made this illustration. But if you haven't even made these illustrations, then even that doesn't quite work, right? But if I look at it overall visual also, there are discrepancies because some of your book covers are like this. Some of these illustrations are, flat illustrations. And then here I see there are some line illustrations. So you will have to decide what you want this case study for. This is not yet suitable for a product design, but it will be if you apply some of the feedback that I have given you, take one of the two directions and improve upon it. So that's all for today, folks. So I reviewed this portfolio and I'm pretty sure this is going to help Saurav to improve upon it and eventually apply for a real job, which is going to get him his job. So I wish him all the best. And if you want your portfolio or case study to be reviewed in a video like this, please head on to nas.io/Sapta, which is my community. Join there for free and drop your link in the forum. And I will pick one of them every week. That's all for today. See you in the next one. This is Sapta signing off.